the makeup of a security framework is really twofold nowadays. Before, threats used to be very client-side focused, so they go through your traditional attack routes like legacy email, file attachments, just purely attacking the client. This is before we had a lot of traffic going through HTTP and on the internet. So because a lot of threats have migrated to that now, they're using those attack vectors, social networking sites, drive-by web download sites that are hosting exploits very frequently as spawning points to attack clients. So because of that now, a security framework really has to be looked at on two sides of the coin. There's the servers, which is the service provider, and within that framework they need the proper security solution to address design issues. So it's not necessarily just scanning with content inspection, but other things as well, such as having proper design in place. There's many components in there. You have a valid security solution on top of having design to prevent XSS exploits and SQL injection, a lot of these inherent things to that, as well as other things such as service providers. A lot of the times we see on a lot of these platforms, we see accounts being hijacked through phishing attacks, and then those accounts being used to launch those attacks. So again, within that security framework on the server, on the service provider side, they need to ensure they have a proper response plan to address that too. So that's one side to look at it from the server. And then with your client-side attacks, you need a proper security framework to address that. It's a different focus, because on that side you have to protect against those spawning points, the malicious URLs, and that's, I believe if you properly address it on both sides, it goes a long way to mitigating those threats. I don't believe everything should be on IT's shoulders. What I think is important for them is to handle the enforcement and to have the proper focus. Again, going back to that focus and direction, I believe a common misconception, or the way that a lot of IT administration is executed is in terms of their logistics and actions, is that they're focused on a lot of reactive cases. They get threats coming in, they try to patch it up, they get complaints coming in from their department saying, well, why can't I access this URL or whatnot? And that tends to consume a lot of their bandwidth, not on network level, but in terms of their job duties and budget too. And to me, I don't think that's an effective use of that budget. So I believe that they should focus on internal issues like having proper policies, focusing on issues that are overlooked, like password enforcement, cryptographic file systems, how you handle roaming devices, the insider threat too. It's a very realistic threat that we see nowadays. So those are the focus areas that I believe IT should be concentrated on, rather than this sort of reactive process. And I think one of the best ways to address today's threatscape is to use your IT department in collaboration with the security experts. Having that connection and that working relationship, that's really what you need to monitor those threats. You don't want to place handling the protection and monitoring of all your threats just on your IT department, because that would be, you need an army of IT professionals, and it wouldn't be a viable solution. So I believe having that working relationship with the security vendor is very important to tackle those threats. And to give you an example of that, what we do at Fortinet in our research labs, we work with a global team who monitor multiple threats across the globe, real time, 24/7, that are constantly emerging, taking those patterns, collaborating, consolidating that information, and then using that to not only protect against emerging threats and zero-day threats, but also to look at the patterns, consolidate that information from all those different attack vectors, look to see what's happening, put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then use that collective intelligence back to your security. So again, by having that in place and having your IT administrators having that working relationship with that element, I believe is one of the more effective ways to handle today's threatscape. There's a couple of interesting things that we have seen in Asia. First and foremost is our global detections that we've witnessed there in terms of volume, sheer volume. It's higher than any other region in the world, starting using 2009 as a reference from January. We've seen a threefold increase from March to May in 2009 in terms of volume of detected malware. Secondly, a key driver of that has been online gaming trojans, and this is targeting a growing market and the real money trading business, which is evolving now, monetizing these attacks on online games to profit. There's been heavy concentration of that in China and Thailand as well. Thirdly, another interesting thing that we've seen has been with a particular malware variant with Beirut. It's a parasitic file infector, which has been around for a while, but we've been monitoring it since 2007, since its inception, where it's had over 80% of its global detected activity in Korea. So it's been somewhat of an epidemic outbreak of activity there. It's a particularly nasty virus because it spreads to multiple files on your computer, so cleaning can be a headache. It has a botnet capability to it, but one of the unique traits is that it has hybrid capabilities, which we've noticed through our research. So it's actually able to attach to other viruses and propagate through those, such as mass mailing worms, using them as a catalyst. So that's been quite interesting and something that we've seen sort of born out of Asia right now in Korea. We're continuing to monitor that. They've updated their code variant in February of this year to actually attack server pages at the same time as well. So it'll inject malicious iframes into HTML ASP files on the server side. So that kind of goes back to what I was talking about previously with threats branching off into different focuses now on server side and client side. This is all blended and combined into one threat as well. So if you'd like to get more information on that, you can view our monthly Threatscape report. So we release from our FortiGuard Global Security Research Team. It's on www.fortiguardcenter.com. Apart from that, it should be remembered that threats are very universal. Cyberspace has no borders again. So as far as the attack methodologies, social engineering hooks and the basic attacks where threats take place, it's very universal in terms of regions.